When it comes to credit, you often think a lot about the downside and protecting your downside. And in those markets, we talk a lot about covenants being the thing to protect you.
For some of us who have been in the market long enough, I'm reminded that the worst deals are done in the best of times. So as a private lender, there's two levers that you have in your position to pull. One is lowering your spread to attract borrowers, and the other one is giving up on covenants. We're in a world where spreads are so tight as it is. Covenants are the only other benefit for most investors that invest in the private space. So for institutional investors, fixed income institutional investors that invest in private placement, covenants are one of the sacred cows that they look for in their investments to provide them with that downside protection. So clearly covenants are here to stay in that portion of the market, and we expect it to stay.
Covenants are here to stay, but in private credit, there's been a lot of talk of this notion of covenant light. So can you even get covenants even if you want them, Emily?
It's a great question. I think one of the things, even just to table set for the answer, is to say when we talk about private credit isn't really a monolith. It's not one thing. Private credit is actually a spectrum of lending to a number of different collateral types. The most common, the one that grew the most over the last 10 years, was the leveraged credit portion. A lot of people call it direct lending or middle market direct lending. And that's the area where we've seen a lot of headlines about covenant light or deals getting done with less covenants. That's because that's a part of the market where we've seen more convergence between public and private markets and banks. And so there have been times where the bank loan market has been a preferred funding source, other times where direct lending has been the larger lender in that market. And bank loans typically come with fewer covenants, so we've seen a bit of that read through in the direct lending market as well. It's case by case. There's within that market a range of outcomes. But you have seen that headline. What I would highlight, though, is that private credit is much broader, and you aren't seeing the same dynamic throughout. So there are other parts of the private credit market. For example, if you looked at a different area like the growth lending market, this is a market that lends capital to companies that are innovative in the technology and healthcare sectors, and they're often in the late stage venture part of their growth. And those companies, according to PitchBook, as of the third quarter of last year, those companies were looking for much more capital than the market could provide, 2.2 times the capital that the market could provide. So that's a place where lenders can get the types of terms and structure and pricing that can make for good deals if you're selective. And we've also seen that quite a bit in the investment grade market.
Yeah, definitely. I think, if you think about that question, in areas of the market where the market is growing, and we see it in the investment grade space, we see it in the structured space, definitely you are able to get covenants. In areas of the market that have a little bit more matured, which is more in the middle market section, there's a little bit more competition there, and that's where you start to see those covenant erode as a means of competition. And then you get into some of the areas that Emily talked about where the supply-demand imbalance is. Listen, as a lender, you want to be in a market where the supply demand of capital is in your favor, in which case that's where you command the best protections for your transactions.
Makes sense. I feel like what I'm hearing from you both is now is not the time to take your foot off the gas pedal when it comes to covenants and ensuring that you're protected as a lender. Although, Emily, I think you summed it up well, which is those covenants are not necessarily universally available. And so looking towards those markets where you have that enhanced protection in this next stage of the credit cycle might be the critical key to the winners and the losers.
That's right. That credit may be cyclical, but discipline should not be.